What's going on, everybody? I'm Tyler Noe. He's Lance Barton. This is Always Talking Ball. We are just a couple of days into week 5 of college football, and I already have 6 bets that I've made, and I am ready to give out, and I will do so later in the show. In fact, we're going to give you all the early lines for this week later in the show, as we're going to play a little guess the spread with Lance Barton. We're going to give you our personal and consensus ATB Week 5 Top 12 rankings. But let's start off with some talk about the ball that was played on the field this weekend. Let's start off with Tennessee taking on what seemed to be the entire city of Norman, Oklahoma last night. My first takeaway from this game, this could have been a lot worse. Josh Heupel, I feel like it because he went to Oklahoma. He's got love for the people in Oklahoma. He took his foot off the gas a little bit. And so I think if Tennessee wanted to, they could have really made Oklahoma embarrassed.
Yeah, I honestly just think that it, again, shows, we talked about this last year with him, that he is no longer trying to win every game 50-something to whatever. He realizes he has a nasty defense that he can roll out there and play in these bigger games with, and a really good running game. And I just think that it was very obvious to the whole world, obviously to him as well, that Oklahoma, the only chance that they were going to be putting points on the board was if that Brent Venables defense and that defensive line would cause a sack fumble or a pick six or set Oklahoma's offense up in plus territory like they did on 2 different occasions. And literally on the first play, Jackson Arnold gave the ball back to Tennessee. Both times Oklahoma's defense did that. But first, again, we're going to talk about the winners here. Dude, it is almost just strange to see Tennessee with a Josh Heupel team right now. And I know he's already talked about the Reggie White stuff. We talked about it going into this year. Tennessee was built on defense in the past, but it's been a while since that's the case. And, dude, they're nasty. They're coming at you in so many different waves across that defensive line with all that depth. I'll say this, for all the big SEC fans out there, it was weird. I had Alabama friends texting, basically kind of pulling for Tennessee. It was strange seeing that was a vintage, when people that want to hate on the SEC, the things that people talk about, what's great about the SEC and what's different about them is what you saw last night with that Tennessee bunch, with the fact that they were trotting out defensive linemen out there in waves that were running faster than most teams' linebackers, that were just living in the backfield, in that Oklahoma backfield, running the rock and controlling the clock and just punching you in the mouth on both sides of the football. And, oh, yes, and also all of the Tennessee orange that showed up in the stands there in Norman. I saw a lot of that on X. I even saw one of the big Oklahoma season ticket holder did a little live video on X saying okay, look, I get it now. It is different. He said, I've never been to a home game here where there's this many opposing fans in this stadium. And not only that, they're just whipping our ass up and down the field, and we can't do anything about it. That's pretty much what it was. It was, again, as soon as Tennessee went up, it was 12-3, and I think it was late in the first half that they scored a tutty. They were at the very end of that first half. It was curtains. It was over when that happened.
Beautiful pass by Nico. Just a laser.
Yep.
For 66 yards. That was
it was.
That was special.
Yep. And Tennessee had double-digit tackles for a loss on that defense, 3 sacks. They're scary good, man. You tweeted it out from our X page at AlwaysTalkBall for anybody who wants to go follow. You tweeted it out during the game that Tennessee's a legit, in all caps, national championship contender, and they are. And they've got a great quarterback, they've got a great play caller, but the growth of Josh Heupel as a head coach has been interesting to see, man, in these last couple of years, because he was forced to have to play defense and run the football last year when he had Joe Milton at quarterback. But now He's got a team that can beat you with his quarterback's arm and the weapons on the outside at receiver. He can run the rock with Dylan Sampson and that backup kid that was coming in last night, running hard for him. And he can control games with his defense. Now, we'll say this. It's not, I mean, I know a lot of it has to do with how good Tennessee was defensively, but Jackson Arnold was the definition of that far away, like my dad always says, far away look in his eye. He had that far away look in his eye, nobody home, deer in the headlights look very early, extremely early. Before he even really had a turnover, I was sitting there going, oh my.
Folks, if they go back to Jackson Arnold this week at starting quarterback, might be time to lay some points with the home team there in Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn's been bad.
Yeah, agreed. He just, dude, it's you don't want to see this with anybody. Like, again, we're fans here of the sport and stuff, but like, dude, it was just sad to watch him like just completely fall apart. You could see it like falling apart mentally. The kid's talented. He is, but he's killing him right now, man. Just absolutely killing him. And I mean, when they took him out, you understood why they took him out. They had to make a change. They had to do something different. Had to get him out of there in general, just so his confidence didn't get ruined even more. That was like a starting pitcher that you have out there in baseball that's given up 4 or 5 home runs in a row, and he starts walking and hitting people, and he's looking over there at the dugout like, Coach, get me off this mound. That's basically what he was doing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Oklahoma's defense deserved better for as hard as they played and as well as they played against that Tennessee offense. As a fan of the sport, I wished we would have seen Oklahoma's offense put a little more pressure on Tennessee's defense so we could have seen what, again, we still haven't seen a quarterback with the ability yet to stretch the field and see what those DBs, the so-called, possible weakness for Tennessee. But maybe nobody can exploit it because they can't get a pass off because that D-line's just eating. But yeah, man, they're legit. They're a legit natty contender. And unless Oklahoma gets something figured out at quarterback, if Jackson Arnold, they do go back to him, if he somehow gets his confidence back, or if they play the freshman that they played Hawkins, is that his last name?
Yeah, Michael Hawkins.
Yeah, Michael Hawkins.
Which, I mean, he was 11 for 18, 132 yards. He was able to kind of move it with his feet a little bit, little mobile quarterback, but he's not in the position. They need Jackson Arnold to step it up in a hurry. But I mean, they got to start asking questions they didn't think they were going to ask at the beginning of the year. Is like, is he going to be the quarterback of the future? Or, are they going to have to look elsewhere? Are they going to have to do transfer portal next year? Because, I mean, remember, they lost Dylan Gabriel in the transfer portal to Oregon. So that obviously hurt him. But it was kind of like he was kind of being shoved out because Jackson Arnold was next best quarterback coming in. And we talked about it in the summer. We thought he was going to be good.
Oh, dude, don't worry. I mean, again, if I had crow on a plate right here, I'd eat it. Talking about how good that guy was going to be. But I mean, everybody else was too, but that's not an excuse. We're not going to say just because everybody else was that we should have been doing it as well. I definitely thought that guy was going to be the real deal. And so far, I look like an idiot.
I mean, we had talked about him and Nico, and we're 50-50. So, I mean,
we hyped up Nico hard before the season, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And last night, like, Nico didn't, 13 for 21, 194 yards, 1 touchdown, like, wasn't anything special. He had that really nice throw that was over the middle for that 60-yard touchdown. They killed him on the ground. They didn't gash him on the ground, but just steady blows on the ground. But again, that wasn't even the best we saw from Tennessee's offense, I don't think. And so that's kind of a scary part too.
Yeah, man, I was going to say that's what in their two biggest games so far this year, Nico's just played. He's played well. He's managed the game, which also was what I think is so impressive. We talked about this with Dylan Raiola against Colorado in that game. Instead of trying to make some huge play or whatever, like Nico did make the huge play with that absolute laser down the middle of the field. But overall, Nico just managed the game, let the game come to him. He didn't do anything stupid. He was smart. He controlled the game. And that's impressive, man, with as talented as he is. being on national television like that and as good and as talented as he is, you got to know that guy wants to come out and just be like, I'm about to show the world what's up. And he did on that laser that he threw. That got everybody's attention, obviously. That blew up X when that happened. But overall, man, he just managed the game well.
He just seems poised. Like, he just seems like he got a sack fumble. Obviously, Arnold turned it over the very next play, but that sack fumble, it didn't rattle him. Like, he's just
not at all.
And he just kind of walked back to the sideline, just kind of like, you know what, we're gonna get him next time, and he just seems like nothing rattles him.
Yeah, and I'm sure too, man. Having a coach like Heupel, former quarterback like that as well, in your corner, that helps because he. We're gonna keep just talking up Tennessee here, dude. Not having both of their starting offensive tackles and still just like, it didn't really matter is wild. And
we've heard other fans make excuses for their offensive line having injuries.
Yeah, me. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, they just kept going. And the last thing I'll say on this is that you got to think, man, with Heupel. I know all the talk about him coming back to Oklahoma and how things ended when he was. He kind of sounds like he felt like he might have been the scapegoat for a bad year there in Norman. Some bad blood there. And that you got to think, what's Oklahoma really built off of for so many years in the Bob Stoops era? Toughness, physicality, defense, defense punching you in the mouth. I know the Lincoln Riley era kind of made people forget about that, but that's what Oklahoma was built off of for a very long time, for as long as I can remember. And here comes offensive-minded, high-flying Heupel with a team that is big, physical, deep, and just hit you in the mouth. And they played bully ball in Norman at night. I'm with you, man. They're a scary bunch right now, no doubt.
Yep. Real quick, make sure you're subscribed or following the show right now, whatever platform you're listening to, tuning into. Do us a favor and share it with a couple of people that you are close with and that love college football. Let's move on to Ann Arbor. Let's talk Michigan USC. I caught a lot of this game. I was really, really excited to watch this game. The noon slate felt a little underwhelming yesterday. Some decent matchups, but they ended up being blowouts. Michigan USC was one I was really looking forward to. I want to say second drive of the game, maybe third drive of the game for Michigan. It looked like they were short on third down. They got tackled. It looked like Donovan Edwards was short. Lincoln Riley didn't challenge. The replay booth didn't review. 53-yard touchdown, very next play by Khalil Mullins. I just think USC lost this game more than Michigan won it, in my opinion. The big plays from Michigan got them there. They had, without the big plays, without the 53-yard touchdown run, they had a 41-yard touchdown run in the second quarter with Donovan Edwards. And then you remember that last drive, that 63-yard run to set them up, which was just, we'll talk about that. But without those, 3.2 yards per carry for Michigan that USC held them to. It was just the big plays that kept killing them. And then obviously pick six, that just killed them. For Michigan, I mean, is 32 yards passing per game sustainable? Like, I truly have no idea.
Against some of the teams they play, it might be.
They got Minnesota this week, so sure, you could probably run just like that Penn State game last year that we reference all the time. Run the whole time. I mean, they may not throw 5 passes on Saturday.
They're going to have a lot of close games, man, because of that. It gives you a less margin for error. You're gonna have to hit some big plays in the run game, like they did against the better teams. But against some of these other teams they're going to play in the Big Ten, I said it the other day. They're Iowa with better athletes. That's really what they are this year. That's what they are right now. They're Iowa with better athletes overall. But here's the thing. I said on the last episode, this is the best chance they've got to win the most amount of games this year, is just run, 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 run. And they just beat USC by doing it. But I'll say this about USC. I walked away from that game actually impressed with them. I know that Michigan hit some big plays in the run game, but overall, think back, man, to the Lincoln Riley USC team that played Utah in that Pac-12 championship game year one, when the Utes and Kyle Whittingham just ran over them and ripping off just long run after long run after long run against them. And again last year with Utah and other teams against them too. Like some of the teams, just about everybody they played against had their rushing highs for the year. And then they spent the entire offseason. He actually made the change to DeAnton Lynn. They had all that stuff that got released on social media right before the season started of them bulking up. And they went into the Big House. And Miller Moss's first road game faced a ton of adversity. And that place was rocking. And
He was getting rocked.
He was getting drilled. Michigan was running right at him over and over and over and over and over again. Defensively, same thing. That D-line was eating. They were coming after Miller Moss and getting to him, and he was taking a pounding. Big hits all over the place. And, man, they just kept coming. I get what you're saying about Michigan. I'm gonna wait and see with them. But I still think they can win a lot of games playing the way that they play. Now, can they sustain this over time many years from now? No. They still got a lot of good players that are left over from the Harbaugh era. And I said in the last episode that the dudes that Michigan has, like the absolute dudes, they need to be dudes. Will Johnson had a pick six. Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant were just dogs on that D-line. That number 0, I'm forgetting his name, the defensive end or whatever for Michigan, played really well also. Khalil Mullins had some big runs. So, but again, they could look. Here's the thing. They're going to have a lot of close games. They could lose some of these games because if they happen to make any mistakes, they have to play pretty much mistake-free football because there's such a thin margin for error playing the style of play that they're playing. But I get what you're saying, but it's also still like we went from, USC was a 4 or 5 point favorite in the Big House. That's what people were thinking of this team. And they still got it done and still won. But I'm still high on USC. I'm honestly higher on them now than I was before the game. I know they lost the game on the field, but this is one of those results and the way the game was played that, like, if you're a USC Trojan and you're a fan of USC, you'll ride with Miller Moss. You'll get in the foxhole with that guy, the way he played. He's tough. He's tough, and that USC bunch can play with anybody in the Big Ten. Maybe not Ohio State, maybe, I don't know. But that's a solid bunch there for USC, and they're going to be sitting there at the end of the year probably in the thick of it for the playoff hunt.
Yeah, I told you yesterday when we were texting, I came away less impressed. Because their offense looked worse than what I thought it would be. And, again, they piled up the total yards, sure, but, they can't complete a forward pass. It's crazy. I think the line tomorrow would be at the Big House, maybe 3.5 USC still. And I took USC -4 yesterday, and I was looking great up until they decided to give up that 63-yard run when all they needed to do was to stop the run. And I would take them again tomorrow because I think they would win more of those games against Michigan than not. Michigan got the ball with 3 minutes left, and they never threw a pass. The rest of the game, they went 90 yards. Never threw a pass. USC got the ball back, and 4th and 9, game on the line, and they throw an 8-yard pass.
Here's what I'll say on this one, too, Ty, to your point. In the second half, Michigan's offensive drives, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 1 play, fumble, 3 and out, and then the 10-play drive for 89 yards. Their 2 scores were the pick six that you talked about early there in the second half, and then the 10-play, 89-yard drive there at the very end. So USC and D'Anton Lynn definitely figured something out there at halftime. And pretty much all of Michigan's damage offensively was done in the first half, which again wasn't much other than a couple of those bigger plays. But yeah, it's I'm just intrigued, man, to see if Michigan, because other than Oregon and Ohio State, can they beat the rest of the teams on their schedule and they get the Ducks in the big house? I don't know. God, you look like you want to say something so bad right now.
No, I mean, they won the game. It's just they're not. It's not an impressive team this year, and they can still win a lot of games. 8 games, 9 games. That's not Michigan's goal. That's not their
No,
fans'
I agree.
goal.
I agree. Oh, they're not a threat, in my opinion, to win a game in the playoff. I'm not going to say they're not a playoff contender just because the teams that they play, they're better than most of them. And I'm not going to sit here and say that they can't beat Oregon in the big house. With so far what we've seen from Oregon, do I think it's likely to happen? No. But I'm not going to say they can't get it done in that one. But man, when they play the Buckeyes, that's going to be interesting. What that line comes out to be and how that one is going to go.
They've already got the early line out on that, and it's very interesting to say the least. So that was before yesterday's game, so it may have fluctuated, but I believe before yesterday's game it was already 19.5. So
yeah, okay.
Let's move on. Another big game that took place right around that time was Utah versus Oklahoma State out in Stillwater. Line fluctuated all over the place because of that person, Cam Rising, and that person, Kyle Whittingham, who we have much affection for. And I'm not going to say that we hate Cam Rising now, okay? We've been talking about this guy since we started this podcast last August. And he's played 2 games, and the whole time we talked about him. And, 35 minutes before the kickoff, beat writer from Utah says he's taking warm-ups. He's going to start. He looks to be starting the game.
He took every snap with the ones, dude, in warm-ups.
Yeah, and they're showing him on TV. He's got a glove on the hand, but he's throwing, and he just kind of throwing soft or whatever. But and then 2 minutes before the game comes out, Isaac Wilson is taking the first snaps of the game for the Utah Utes, and you just automatically think like, shoot, man, like Oklahoma State's just they're gonna do their thing, and they're at home, and that's it. But no, you still got that man on the sidelines, Kyle Whittingham, who just knows how to get it done.
And Morgan Scalley to DC.
Again, we talk about dudes who do more with less, and Whittingham is just at the top of the pile of coaches that do that. He's just, it's unbelievable. Like the defense that they played against Oklahoma State's offense is really good. Even putting up 22 points with, your backup quarterback against that Oklahoma State defense is really impressive. Again, it was another case where like that Oklahoma-Tennessee game was a 10-point game at the end of the game. Not as close.
Agreed.
Utah, let up towards the end. It was not as close. Was it 22-3 at one point?
Yeah, 22-3 late.
Yeah, and they scored 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions at the end for the Cowboys to make it 22-19. Utah now gets a huge leg up on the road to the Big 12 championship game.
Dude, we were just talking about it with how SEC fans, like I'm sure that was like an SEC special to see like how Tennessee played against Oklahoma. Hey, Big 12, welcome to the hell known as Utah football.
Wait till you go to Rice Eccles, Big 12.
Yeah, that was a Kyle Whittingham and Utah football special if you've ever seen it, man. They just took like a boa constrictor and wrapped themselves around Oklahoma State and just squeezed the freaking life out of them for 4 quarters, bro. That was as impressive and a well-coached performance as you're going to see. And I know that we talk good about Gundy on here, and Gundy's a good coach, but my goodness, what a performance by Andy Ludwig, Morgan Scalley, and Kyle Whittingham and that Utah team. Dude, Oak State was 19 for 44 completions. They only ran the ball with Ollie Gordon. This will just tell you enough as it is, too. They knew real early with that a bunch of seventh-year seniors, six-year seniors, offensive line is supposed to be one of the best offensive lines in the country, and the Doak Walker Award winner and Ollie Gordon.
Not this year.
Bro, they ran the ball 15 times total for 48 yards. But they knew they couldn't. They knew early that Utah bunch was serious. And that's wild, man. And
I will say Isaac Wilson on Utah. Sorry to switch sides. But Isaac Wilson is an upgrade on what they had last year with Bryson Barnes. Oh, for sure.
Significantly. Hey, again, that kid managed the game well. He threw that one pick that was in the red zone, but like he got absolutely hammered on a free blitzer that hit him right in the freaking face as he threw it, and didn't get as much on it. But other than that, he played really well, managed the game well, and just let his defense work, ran the football, hit open people when they were open. But what I watched yesterday, I feel like we handicapped Utah really well this year. They actually do have weapons on the outside. We saw them yesterday with Dorian Singer and Money Parks and Brent Keithy at tight end. They all stepped up and played really well. Offensive line was nasty. Defense, nasty. And they just don't beat themselves. That is scary for the rest of the Big 12 if you just saw that bunch walk into Stillwater with Isaac Wilson and made it look easy. Really didn't. I mean, honestly, made it look easy.
Yeah. Ollie Gordon, 11 carries, 42 yards. That's not going to get it done really against anybody, let alone Utah. But Utah, I mean, what they're putting together and what the schedule they have in front of them, because they do not play K-State in the regular season. They will get them in the Big 12 championship. Utah, I mean, looking way ahead here. Their schedule is very manageable for them. And Kyle Whittingham commands respect amongst his peers and amongst college football. Everybody knows college football, knows Kyle Whittingham will bring it every time his team comes to play. And that was an at-large playoff berth statement win right there. Like, if they don't win the Big 12, they get beat by K-State somehow, or, Oklahoma State maybe in a rematch, and they are finishing, with 2 losses or 1 losses, they're going to make a solid case for an at-large bid.
I agree, man. They look like one of the 12 best teams in the country as of right now. Because, I mean, right now it's so funny. We're only a few weeks into the season, and it's already, well, who have you beat? Like, so-and-so, they're not any good. Well, you beat that team. That team's not any good.
Yeah, we don't know if a lot of teams are any good.
Oh, you beat NC State to death? Well, everybody's beating NC State to death. You know what I mean? It's just it's so funny already how that's already starting. But last thing on this, Utah time of possession, 42 minutes and 26 seconds to 17 minutes and 34 seconds.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of padlock stats on here, but that would be one right there.
Yeah, like we try not to be like box score berries here and just read box scores, but this one was just mind-boggling. And again, I watched the majority of it because, as you probably heard in the previous episode, I acted like I was putting my life savings on Utah. And as soon as the episode ended, all of the uncertainty came about Cam Rising and all that. So I blasted on all of our social medias that we were holding off on the huge Utah bet until we found out if Cam Rising was for sure going or not. On Saturday, I thought he was going, but I still, even with just the craziness and uncertainty, I just put a little bet on him. Did not go didn't lay the hammer down on him like I wanted to.
We should not have doubted Kyle Whittingham.
We shouldn't have, man. We shouldn't have. But he got there for us, and they got in the green for us. Hey, we finished a week in the green.
Green, baby.
Finally, we needed it, man. We needed it. But hey, we did. So hope
we're back.
We're back. We're so back. That's why you're about to throw out 10 bets here on on Sunday. But all right, man, take us to the next spot. You know me. I'll just keep rambling if you don't.
Yep. So we are going to move on. We're going to do the ATB Week 5 Top 12, brought to you by Home Field Apparel. Fall is here, and it's a perfect time to gear up with vintage college apparel from Home Field Apparel. Whether you're tailgating or just staying warm, Home Field has you covered. And as a listener of our podcast, you can get 15% off of your purchase with promo code ATB15. So grab your fall essentials at Home Field Apparel and show off your school pride. Number 1 and number 2 stay the same in our consensus top 12. Number 1, Texas. Arch Manning threw a couple picks. Didn't matter much. 51-3 win over General Booty and UL Monroe. And then number 2, Georgia had a bye before they take on Alabama this week, which I'm pretty sure we're probably going to talk about that game later this week. So my number 2 team in my poll, again, I'm all over them, guys. I'm all over the Tennessee Volunteers this year. Just, again, 4 games. I know they played NC State, and, yeah, everybody's killing NC State. Going on the road and covering like that at Oklahoma speaks volumes to me. I had them at number 2. Lance had them at number 3. We kept Georgia at number 2 in our consensus because, they were there last week. So, but Tennessee's number 3, and, I mean, it's just such an impressive win, and they could have done it by more.
Yeah, they could have. And, I mean, at this moment, I'm still giving, like, as impressive as Clemson has looked ever since they played against Georgia. Georgia still beat them down week 1 to the point to where all the hot takes started flying that week of, see, Dabo sucks, Clemson's dead, Dabo's dead, kill the program, and here's Clemson tearing it up now. And Georgia still, I know that they struggle.
Turns out they just played Georgia with Kirby having a month to prepare for him. Like that was it.
Right, and a healthy-ish Georgia bunch. That Georgia team that played against Kentucky was not as healthy, but still. But yeah, I had Tennessee 3, you had Tennessee 2. I mean, it's not like I'm going to put up some big argument to anybody that has Tennessee at 2 right now. I get it. So we've got Texas 1, Georgia 2, Tennessee 3.
Tennessee 3. 4 through 10 are the same for both of us. So we had Alabama number 4, Ohio State number 5. Alabama was obviously on a bye. Ohio State was sleepy a little bit at noon. Allowed Marshall to take an early lead. But, man, Ohio State looks like they can just beat you in different ways, man. Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. We've talked about them a lot.
Yeah.
Emeka Egbuka. We haven't even really talked about him a lot because it's been all Jeremiah Smith, right? And so they've still got him. Defense still looks good. So they cruised an easy 49-14 win over Marshall.
Yeah, I didn't catch a ton of it. Emily and I took the kids for a little lunch spot that's got a bunch of TVs and all that. So we sat down, and that was the game that was on. And the first play I see is Quinshon Judkins going off tackle for about 90. And I was like, okay, well, it's good to see Quinshon still has not lost a step. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. That 2-headed monster at tailback and the weapons that they've got with the defense that they've got, yeah, they're hard to argue with them at 5. And we've got old Hottie Toddy still at 6. I know they're not really playing anybody.
Get up on this week, nobody. Like Georgia Southern, right?
Yeah. They finally at least get somebody decent in Kentucky this week.
It's at home.
It is. It's at home. So, but yeah, Ole Miss has just blistered every bad team that they've played, and I'm still impressed with the fact that I don't care that they're playing terrible competition. Even against terrible competition before, Ole Miss's defense would still give up points. They're not giving up points anymore. It's obvious that defense is different and a lot better. Who we got at 7?
7, we got the Canes, who took on your favorite team, USF. And, again, it was a close game. Halftime, I think it was 22 or 29-15. So USF was hanging in there, and then they couldn't sustain it anymore. It's kind of similar to the Alabama game. And Miami ran away with it, 50-15. Cam Ward is telling the defense, where they're going to run the play at, and USF still can't stop it. So they're feeling themselves right now, and they got a big one Friday night against Virginia Tech, who, gosh, they're a maddening bunch, but we'll talk about them here in a little bit. But number 8, Penn State, they took care of Kent State. Man, poor Kent State, Tennessee and Penn State back-to-back weeks, and again, it was another. they're getting money. But it was another like 700 to 100 total yards
for any of the Rocky fans out there, Rocky movie fans out there. I feel like Kent State is getting paid a lot of money to be Ivan Drago's sparring partner right now. They're just lining up against the best teams, top 10 teams in the country, and getting waxed by everybody right now.
It's true. Number 9, Oregon, which I believe they had a bye yesterday as well. Number 10, Utah. We had them out last week, and again, we're such idiots, but we moved them back into their rightful place in the
our
top 10.
apologies to Whittingham. Like
Yeah.
we talk enough about him on here, how much we love our Utes and Kyle Whittingham. By the way, neither one of us are actually like, that's not our team, but we just love and respect everything about Utah and everything that they are, if you can't tell. So apologies to the Utes. They're back in. They're back at 10.
Yep. And they get to welcome in Arizona to Rice Eccles this week, night game. So Arizona obviously had an off week after getting shellacked by Kansas State. So
I hope you've got that one on Guess the Spread, because it's on my list.
I believe I do. So number 11. So this is where we differ, number 11 and 12. Number 11, I kept USC in there because, they went to the big house. They're up by 4. Big plays got them. I didn't want to punish them that much. Again, I personally wasn't impressed with Michigan in the win. And, these rankings are mixture of power ratings, who we think will win on neutral field, what their resume is. It's kind of mishmash stuff. And so I still would take USC over Michigan if it were played tomorrow. So I had them at 11. Lance had Clemson at 11.
Yep.
Which I had Clemson at 12. So Clemson came in as our number 11 team. Big question for Clemson is, will they go 11-1?
They might. I'm gonna make another.
This is the team. This is the offense that everyone was dreaming of when Garrett Riley came.
Agreed, man. I'm going to make another movie reference here. I'm sure everybody out there has seen Happy Gilmore with Adam Sandler, and when he looked at old Shooter McGavin on that on his first putt on their first hole there at the end, and he looks at him and goes, "Happy learned how to putt." Uh-oh. Yeah. Clemson has an offense. Uh-oh. Because that Clemson defense is nasty.
Yeah.
Still is. And that defensive line is legit. And now Clemson has found an offense. Like you said, this is the Garrett Riley offense that we all, as college football fans, as the prognosticators thought, and Clemson thought, and Clemson's fans thought. That's what we're getting. And I had Cade Klubnik as one of the two. The other one is not going to get there, as one of my two guys that I thought would be the most improved players in the country going into this season. The other one, he's not going to be there. We're not even going to mention who that other one was.
Yeah.
But Klubnik looks to be the part right now. He obviously struggled against Georgia. But we talked about going into that Georgia game, man, that finding your offense, it's not the time to do it, not the place to do it against the Dogs and against Kirby Smart.
Nope.
But they found it against Appy State. Looks like everybody's finding their offense against Appy State. But anyway, yeah, they look real. I mean, obviously, we know Maffa and that bunch can run the football, but all everybody's talking about right now is Cade Klubnik, Maffa, and a little bit of the receivers. I'm going to say it again: the hire of Matt Luke as offensive line coach at Clemson was a huge hire. And I think that's going to be something that you're going to see more people continue to talk about more throughout the year is, Clemson's pushing people around on the offensive line. They're giving Klubnik actually time to throw the football and stuff, which they haven't been doing the last few years.
Yeah.
And so Clemson, I had them at 11. They're at 11 in our poll. I know they've got a loss, but again, I'm sure a few other teams would probably lose to Georgia as well.
Yep, I had Clemson at 12, and you had Michigan at 12, which just baffled me. I had them about 16 or 17. So by average, we both had Mizzou as our 13th best team. So they move up into the consensus number 12 spot. And for everybody who was like, just after us a couple weeks ago for putting Clemson like 11th. And, they were ranked number 6th in the AP poll, and the AP poll can never be wrong. And then they dropped to 7th last week after their 6-point win over Boston College because they actually played someone with a pulse. And then they play Vandy and Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill last night. Like all these games are home, albeit. And they sneak out with an overtime win over Vandy. And the AP poll drops them back to 11, guys. So, the water's kind of finding its level. Mizzou's still good.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. But They were never the sixth best team in the country. Okay. Nope. We got it out there a couple weeks ago. They were never the sixth best team in the country. So
even our boy Adam Pappas, man, was messaging me, getting on me about it. That we said that we had him too low. But I'll say this, that is the definition of what we talk about, of how maybe they were feeling themselves a little bit, being ranked 6th or 7th in the polls. Going into this year, they were hyped up a lot. And that is the type of game that your head coach dreams about, where you still get out with a win. But that should get their attention. If whatever they're going to be this year, that game should truly get their attention. And they are so lucky that they won that game. Dude, I don't know that, like, if they lose at home to Vandy, at the end of the year, if they're sitting there at 10-2 by any chance, like, there is no way that they're being taken over somebody else, the fact that they lost at home to Vandy. So winning that game was like a big deal, because they, again, when you look at their schedule, there's still a great chance they could end up 10-2, 9-3 on the year, and in the thick of it with other teams that are competing for the playoff spot. So yeah, they come in at 12 in our poll right now. We'll be covering them more throughout the year because they've got some bigger games coming up.
Yep. All right, let's get to some quick hitters. Friday Night Lights has yet to disappoint, and this past Friday night was no different. Late game, Washington State, double overtime, right? Or triple overtime against San Jose State, wee into the hours of the morning. And Washington State pulls out the victory. You got Stanford, first ACC game on the road against our boys from Syracuse, and they pull out the victory with the last-second field goal. And then the big one was number 24, Illinois, taking on number 22, Nebraska. Nebraska was like a 9-point favorite by the time that thing kicked off. And Illinois just went in there, and Burt Bielema stuck it to him. Illinois is now, literally, before this last episode, when we talked about this game, I can't remember if you said it on the episode or afterwards, but you were just like, how is Illinois ranked?
Oh, I said it live. I said it live on the episode. I said, dude, how is Illinois ranked? Because
we get a lot of things wrong on here, okay?
It's okay. Yeah, we do get some things right. But yes, when we get things wrong, we get them wrong.
Yeah.
But
Illinois is the only team with 2 wins against AP ranked opponents this year. Only team in the country to do that. And
that was
Luke
a tough
Altmaier,
win, man. That was a tough win Friday night.
Luke Altmaier is the only quarterback with 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions through his first 4 games this year. So
he looked
again,
good.
Nebraska and 1 possession games, they've got to be cursed.
Yep. You knew if I were hot this year, I'd have done it. The moment that Raiola missed that wide open tight end there in the end zone there at the end of the game that would have won it, as soon as he missed that, it was like a foregone conclusion, like a guarantee that Illinois was going to win that game when that happened. And it's just when it happens so many times too, you could feel it through the screen, the tension from the fans there. You could see it on the players' faces. You could see it on the coaches' faces. It's just like a disease. All of those just close losses like that, if you can just get Nebraska late in the fourth quarter in situations like that, they're going to have to figure out a way to win games like that, or it's going to continue to happen, because I don't know how they here's what can't happen. Like, Will Compton, that I know everybody knows is like the biggest like Nebraska fan and all that, like all over social media, but he had one thing that I couldn't agree more with. I was saying this immediately after the game. They can't let that game turn into 2 or 3 more they can't let that game beat them 2 more times. If that makes any sense. Like, they have no time to get down. Nebraska's got to get back up. Honestly, it might be a good thing for them to go on the road and get out of Lincoln. And I know that they get poor old Purdue, so it's probably the best medicine that you could get right now to play Purdue. But still, but on the Illinois part, what a tough, like, defensively, everything, man. That was a really, really good win. And Altmaier, like I said, he's another one. I'll ride with him any day. How good he's been so far.
Yeah. LSU got a bit of bad news tonight. Harold Perkins is going to be out for the year with a torn ACL. You had quite the interesting take on Harold Perkins on Saturday. You can clean it up a little bit, knowing that the dude has lost the rest of the season to injury. Don't be so mean to him now.
Yeah, God, I'm sad you brought this up now after that. I did not know that injury had happened.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, I said during the game that, for all the how people tout this guy as one of the best defensive players in all of college football because of what he did as a freshman, like he's not done anything since he was a freshman. And just to clean it up, I was watching him miss tackles left and right in that game, and I made the comment that I said is I don't know that there's anybody more overrated than him as a defensive player right now in college football because of how many people tout this guy as one of the best defensive players in the game. He may go on to be some great pro and all of that, and I hate that he got injured like that. I texted you yesterday. I had no idea he got injured, but during the Tennessee game, I said, dude, injuries are the worst.
Yeah.
Man, like when some of the best players for these teams or anybody, man, just
Yeah.
knowing how hard these guys work and stuff and getting an injury like that to end your season, I'm sure Perkins probably won't come back. I don't know. We can talk about that at a later date. But
Did Matt House really just ruin him last year?
I don't know, man. Like I thought that everybody
psychologically or what?
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody thought he was going to be a game wrecker in Blake Baker's system, and it just hasn't been the case so far this year. But I'll say this: he's still talent-wise. I mean, he hasn't stepped up. He was still one of the most talented players easily on that defense. So losing a guy like that on a defense that already is just booty again, man. LSU right now, man, is just barely above average this year. They've been disappointing. They have.
I made a bold statement to you on Saturday that, could have been just thrown out there willy-nilly, but I think Indiana and Kurt Signetti would give LSU a heck of a game right now.
Hell yeah, they would. Dude,
maybe not a night in the jungle, but I think it'd be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, look, LSU has all the talent in the world, all these great coaches, all that stuff, but they need to play like it. They need to. I mean, Nussmeier's playing his butt off. He is. He's playing really well. But other than that, man, I mean, they just defensively, they're still just rough.
Mm-hmm.
And they play some teams this year that are going to really exploit that in a big way.
Yeah. Yep. One team that may not exploit that in a big way is the Auburn Tigers, your foe. Hugh Freeze, man, just throwing his quarterbacks under the bus, running over them, backing up, doing it again. Do the Tigers miss Gus Malzahn?
I mean, it's hindsight's easy to say that now, but I don't think they probably feel that way at this very moment, but they won't feel that way for long when they get this incoming, if they actually get him signed. I mean, they're committed, but you wonder, like, if they just keep losing games, are all these big time recruits that they've got currently committed? Are they all going to come? That's something
Deuce Knight's been there for like a month, I think, straight.
For real, like you got to, dude. Yeah, I wonder what that guy really thinks at the moment.
He's probably thinking I can come in next year and be quarterback right away.
Yeah, and he would, and he would be.
What they're putting on the field is the best recruiting pitch you can do to a freshman quarterback right now.
Yep, and I mean that game was as absolutely hammered drunk as what you could think any football game would be. I mean, we're sitting there with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, and there were 6 turnovers up to that point. And I mean, Auburn had every chance imaginable to win that game. And now I'm going to flip it because I said this about Arkansas after the Oklahoma State game, that Arkansas, if you remember, Arkansas had almost 700 yards of offense at Oak State and almost doubled them up in yards. They were clearly the better football team, so much better than Oak State. And they just did everything possible to give that game away and lose it, and Oklahoma State took it. And I made the comment, I said, that's what you saw a perfect example of what well-coached football teams that know how to win versus a team that's poorly coached, because those teams find ways to lose. It's sooner or later a team finds ways to lose. Right now, that's Auburn. I mean, the 4th and 31 deal. I'm an Alabama fan. Like, of course you're going to bring that up. Like, no, but seriously, think about it. The 4th and 31 bull crap last year. That can't happen. That just can't happen. And what you saw against Cal, 4 interceptions on your home field against Cal, and then this game. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but for all the talk that people like, Hugh Freeze does need that he needs to take some blame. Absolutely. He recruited these quarterbacks. He's the one that decided to trot out these quarterbacks this year and not go get one in the portal because apparently he was trying to save some money or something for NIL, whatever. That's fine. But you're literally a big-time Power 4 college football program, and there are so many group of 5 teams all over the place that have significantly better quarterbacks than what you've got. Dude, they haven't had a good quarterback. Like the best quarterback they've had in the last however many years was Bo Nix before we went to Oregon. And, I mean, it's been bad, dude. TJ Finley, Robbie Ashford.
Yeah.
Like it's been bad. And that's really what it is. Like, I'm to the point now, too. Like, everybody's like, well, I mean, their offensive line's not very good. All this. No. If they had a quarterback that was worth the shit, they would be much better. They would be. They would be undefeated. Undefeated right now, easily. They would have beaten Arkansas, no doubt, and they would have beat the brakes off Cal if they had a quarterback.
DJU just did it.
Yeah. Think about that. If they just have a quarterback that can just be comparable. And that's on Hugh Freeze. That is. But I also don't disagree. I think it's like, it's very common sense. Maybe you don't say this, but he's right. We got to find somebody that doesn't throw the ball to the other team. Yes, you're right, Brother Hugh. Amen.
Yeah. Yeah. How about the old BYU Vampires at it again late last night? Just
awesome.
Running up the score on Kansas State. We both had BYU +7. You had them as upset alert. By the way, our upset alerts, I mean, Buffalo over Northern Illinois was a solid call.
We're hot.
Michigan State covered against Boston College. So the Vampires made it 24-2 in their last 26 night games. And they're now in the top 25. So they're creeping closer to our top 12, 4-0 with wins over SMU and Kansas State right now.
Yeah. And for those that are just listening in for the first time, welcome. But I want you to repeat that one more time. What were they in their last however many night games, BYU?
26 night games, 24-2.
That's insane.
Oh, straight up. Straight up. And they were 7-point underdogs in this game.
That's amazing, dude. You got to think that Kalani Sitake at some point is just like lobbying his butt off to Big 12 schedule makers, like, put our games at night. Amazing. But yeah, that game, again, was another one. It was like 6-0. Kansas State looked like they were going to destroy BYU. It looked like a complete mismatch early on, to the point that where I was really close to hitting the old live line to see if I could pull out of my BYU +7 bet, trying to find something on the live line to help me out. And I'm going to stay with it because they were dominating the game, and they only kicked 2 field goals. Instead of being up 14-0, they're up 6-0. And, dude, it was like the last 2 minutes of the first half and the first 2 minutes of the second half, it went from 6-0 to like 31-6. I never seen anything like it.
Insane.
I'd never seen anything like it. Like multiple turnovers, punt returns for a touchdown. One of the best punt returns you'll ever see. That was nuts. The dude was throwing up on the sidelines because he had to run so far on that punt. But yeah, BYU took care of business at home. They're going to be a tough out in Provo. They normally are. But again, in a Big 12, where a lot of teams are not that far from each other as far as talent and skill and just overall team, whoever has to go to Provo, BYU is going to be a problem there.
Yeah. I know we said we weren't going to talk about him again, but
we got to.
When you throw a Hail Mary and you get to overtime against Baylor and you win the game 38-31, we got to talk about Colorado. And I may not like Colorado. That's pretty well known, but Travis Hunter should be everybody's Heisman leader right now, in my opinion. What that guy is doing on the field is, I don't think we've ever seen anything like that in modern day college football.
Nope.
Obviously, back in the 30s and 40s, guys played both ways, I'm sure. But, I mean, what he's doing is unbelievable. I mean, out there catching touchdowns on offense, causing game-winning fumbles on defense. Again, they're going to have to win some more games and keep pulling these rabbits out of their hat to get him up there in the Heisman voting. But, I mean, right now, week 5 into the season, he should be the Heisman leader.
Yeah, I agree. And this will be one of those situations where he is so good. He is that good. He deserves it, like you just said. But number 2, there's so much like momentum, like nationally with this guy that I think too, even if they do go 5-7, like he's going to be in the conversation if he continues doing what he's doing right now. He'll be one of the first guys we've seen on a team that has a record like that. Whether people hate it or love it, that's just how it is. Because that guy, without a doubt, is the definition of what a Heisman Trophy winner looks like as of this very moment. Like you said, we haven't seen anything like it. And I don't know that a couple of episodes ago, we talked about, like, we'll never see it again where a guy's projected to be a top 5, top 10 pick in the NFL draft at either or position, like at 2 different positions. Nobody knows what position he's going to play in the NFL, and it doesn't matter. So what that means is he's a top 10 pick at either wide receiver or at corner. That's nuts when you sit there and think about that. We won't ever. I feel confident almost in saying this, man. Like, I don't know that we'll ever see that again. Yeah, that we haven't. I don't remember the last time we've seen it. Something like that. That a guy is a top 10 caliber pick at 2 different positions on different sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about outside linebacker, middle linebacker, or corner and safety. We're talking about completely opposite sides of the ball. It's crazy. That scene at the end of the game with Shedeur and that Pat. Did you see Dave Aranda's interview? Victory Cigar. Yep, Victory Cigar was the name of that formation.
Again, it's Victory Cigar. It is what it is. He did a great job explaining what the play should have been. The guys just ran it wrong. That's it.
Yeah, and I saw the people coming for him too about, like, throwing you guys under the bus. Like, it's sooner or later. You said it. These guys are getting paid now. They're no longer amateurs anymore. They're getting paid handsomely to play this sport, and they're getting their school paid for. Whatever. So when a coach comes out and says, well, they're killing him for this, when he comes out and says, this was the play that was called and this is what they were supposed to do, you go watch the tape and tell me if that's what they did. Because the first thing that everybody does, as soon as that game ended, how could Dave Aranda have him in that defense and all that? We have no idea what they should have been doing, what they shouldn't have been doing, and he explained it to us. And if you go watch the play, exactly what he said is what happened. Mm-hmm. You had a guy trying to play hero ball and did not do his assignment. And if he did his assignment, Shedeur never gets that pass off.
That's called accountability.
Yep.
So, again, congrats to Colorado. You guys rushed the field against Baylor. Really got a really season. That's a great win for your season. I don't know if you get many more this year, but solid win for Colorado. Great comeback. All right, let's move on to Guess the Spread, brought to you by SeatGeek. Big game this weekend, Georgia versus Alabama. Don't miss out on the action. If you are a first-time SeatGeek user, use promo code AlwaysTalkinBall for $20 off of your first ticket purchase. Download the SeatGeek app, grab your seats, and get ready for the big game. Before we get to Guess the Spread, I got to give out a couple bets. I told you I would at the beginning of the episode, so thank you for sticking with us for this long. Lance, if there's one thing I know, what is it?
Service academies, bro. All right.
Service Academy football.
Never mind. I can't get it out yet because we're doing Guess the Spread.
Get your pencil down, sharpen your pencils, get your notepads out. You're going to want to take a look at these 3 games here, and I'm taking all 3 of them. I'm taking all 3 service academies. I'm going big on the service academies. I got Army going to Temple, playing the Temple Owls after they played the Rice Owls, and then after they played the Florida Atlantic Owls. 3 straight Owls, and the Black Knights, they're not going to have an issue with them.
They are not scared of Army.
I took Army minus 12.5 earlier today on Sunday afternoon. It's now at 13. take it. If you're listening to it, take it. It's about as lock as you can get with Army football.
I think books are scared of you when they're betting on service academies. So that's why that line probably went up.
I'm going to start moving the line. They start listening to these podcasts. So Navy is going on the road, and they're playing UAB. Trent Dilfer and the UAB Blazers. And Navy, who just beat Memphis yesterday, 56-44, something like that, put up 56 points on Memphis.
That new offense for Navy is nice.
Navy, I want you to guess what the spread is on this game. Navy at UAB.
Navy -3?
Navy -2 is what I got it at, and it's now Navy -2.5. Again, They moved the line on me. So, again, I would take it if I were you. And then last but not least, Air Force at Wyoming. Normally Laramie's a tough place to play.
They're booty.
Not this year.
Yeah, they're booty.
Not this year. Yeah, they're having trouble this year. What do you think Air Force at Wyoming would be?
Dude, Air Force, I don't know, 4?
Air Force -3. Okay. And I took them at Air Force -3. I believe there's still some 3s out there. I would take it if you're listening. So I'm all on the service academies. I think that Navy, after a big win on Memphis, you would think they would come out with a letdown possibly. But, I mean, these dudes are disciplined, okay? They're who protects our country.
Absolutely.
For crying out loud. All we could do is just put our hard-earned money on them, okay? All right. Now, let's get to the actual guess the spread game. First one, Friday night, the Virginia Tech Hokies, who just can't seem to beat anybody with a pulse, going to South Beach and taking on the Miami Hurricanes on Friday night. What do you think the spread is?
Let's see. My Hokies. This could be a lot. I don't know, 17, 16 and a half, 17 range.
Miami -17 is the spread.
Okay, right on it. All right.
Starting off hot.
All right.
Here's a big one.
We're so back.
Here's a big one I was focused on here. Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Two teams that lost this past weekend. Who's going to have the bounce back? What do you think?
K-State minus... Gosh, as bad as K-State, but they get a lot of respect at home, and as they should. K-State -6.
It's actually K-State -5.
Okay.
And I took them earlier today. This was my fourth bet. I took them at 4.5.
Fire away, baby. I love it. So you got him at what now? You got him at what? 4.5 hook?
-4.5, Kansas State.
And it's at 5 right now.
Yeah, and I lied earlier in the episode. I only have 5 bets, not 6 bets. So I got one more to give you, but we'll get to that here in a second.
All right.
All right, here we go. Noon kickoff, so 11 a.m. local time. BYU at Baylor.
All right, so this one
they don't like the sunlight.
I'm really glad that you put this one on here. I had 3. Utah, Arizona was one of the other 2. I had 3 that I wanted you to bring out. All right, BYU at Baylor. I bet Baylor's favored, and I'm going to say Baylor minus. It's a run a pick. Baylor -1, 1.5.
The books must be. They must have heard the theory about the vampires because it's Baylor -2.5.
Okay.
And I think there's even some 3s at some spots.
I'm sure you know this podcast. I'm sure Chris the Bear Felica listens to every episode. Bear, if you're listening, do us all a favor and give us all that tweet, the little bear nugget that you like, the bear bites that you like to give out of when a ranked team is playing an unranked team, and the unranked team is the one that's favored. The unranked team covers an unbelievable. It's like unbelievable how often the unranked team wins and covers.
Yeah,
so that's
and BYU coming off a huge win.
Yeah.
Baylor coming off a crushing loss.
Yep. This was the spot, one of the biggest spot games of the week. I've got it. The other one that I'm sure you're going to get to here in a minute. The other big spot game is going to be down in the bounce house this week. But go ahead. So so Baylor's -2.5.
Baylor's -2.5. So see what that line does in the week.
Yeah.
Might be on the Bears. So all right, Minnesota at Michigan.
Michigan 13.
Michigan's actually only favored by 10 points against Minnesota.
Well, that tells you. They're in the
and the line, the total is 39.5.
Oh, like I said it. Iowa with better athletes. That's what they are right now.
Again, road dogs and low totals, they are expecting the game to be low scoring, and 10 points is a lot. Trying to get 39 points, and we saw Michigan play Arkansas State and win by 10, 28-18. Saw them play Fresno State, kind of put them away late, but it was 23-10 late. So Minnesota's tougher than both of those teams, I think. So we'll see. But, 10 points is just a lot less than they've been laying against Minnesota in the past 5 years.
Yeah,
so
dude,
it was kind of shocking to see.
Think about how highly power rated Michigan was last year by odds makers. And now, we got to look that up, man. We got to go see where Vegas, the Vegas power ratings. I'm gonna go look it up after this, where they currently, what they think of Michigan, because that's wild, dude. Hosting Minnesota, the Ghosts in the Big House, only laying 10. All right.
Yep. And it could be a spot too where Michigan comes off a big win over USC. Yep. It's a noon kick. Minnesota, like those road teams. Yeah, like those road teams at noon. So. All right, here's one we talked about earlier. Ole Miss is finally playing a decent team. Kentucky at Ole Miss. What do you think the spread is?
Ole Miss 14.5.
Ole Miss minus 17.5.
Okay.
Yeah, right over that little key number there.
Yep.
All right, down on the plains, Oklahoma at Auburn. Been looking forward to this one for a while. Oklahoma's first road SEC game.
I don't have a clue what you do with this line. Arkansas was just favored at Auburn. So
no, Auburn was favored.
You're right. Auburn was favored.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Oklahoma 1, 2.
Oklahoma minus 3.
Okay.
Field goal. We'll see which Auburn teams comes out. Like I said, if Jackson Arnold is under center for Oklahoma, he gets in that environment. A road environment that he's never played in before, ever. And
is that total over? If you don't have it in front of you, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I was going to say, if that total is above 45, that's what intrigues me.
47.5.
It won't be there long. That won't be.
You think it's going to go under?
Yeah, that won't be there long.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Next game, we mentioned it down at the Bounce House, Colorado at UCF. I'll spoil it. This is my last bet that I've made already.
I'm probably going to be. I'm sure I know which way you're going on that. I'm probably joining you.
Yeah. Colorado at UCF.
All right. I want to say UCF is 10.5, 10.
So I got UCF early on Sunday afternoon at 11.5.
Okay.
And it's up to 14 already. So that was Sunday night.
You are kidding me.
I wish I could have texted you, but I didn't want to ruin guess the spread.
So. Dude, come on now, man. At some point, you know me. You know I was probably going to join you on this. This just shows you guys, Tyler is ride or die for the pod here. You should if I take UCF and they win by 13, you should donate a quarter of your winnings to me.
I know. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, I got them at 11.5, and they're up to 14. So, you can still get 2 touchdowns, still a good number, I think, in UCF. So,
yeah,
they have a potential to just run for 500 yards maybe against Colorado.
Yeah, they're going to run for a lot of yards. It does worry me a little bit with UCF's pass defense because they gave up a boatload to TCU, but still, I'm with you. Colorado's not going to stop UCF.
Yeah. All right, Peacock 3:30. There's 2 Peacock games only. It's Louisville, Notre Dame at 3:30, and then Ohio State at Michigan State. So people are going to get their money's worth if you got that Peacock subscription this weekend.
We've got it, man. Because the wife and I with the dating shows, we've got it. Come on now.
Oh yeah. But Louisville at Notre Dame.
Revenge game for your Irish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say,
and they're not playing a MAC team at home, so that's good.
That is. But hey, big game Brom as a dog. Big game Brahma is an underdog. I'm going to say Irish minus 4.5.
Irish minus 5.
I was close. Okay.
Yeah, you're close. All right. Jerry World, Arkansas versus Texas A&M.
This will be a wild one again. Any game Arkansas is going to be in is going to be a wild one. A&M in that same kind of that 4.5 range.
A&M 5.5.
Okay.
They didn't look great against Bowling Green. I'll say that. I mean, Bowling Green played good against Penn State as well, but they didn't look great. So, and Arkansas obviously went into Auburn and won, and should have won in Oklahoma State. So that should be actually a good game this year. It hasn't been a great game the past couple of years, but I think it should be a good game this year. A little G5 love, a little from my alma mater, probably their biggest game.
I knew you were going to have that there.
Biggest game of their season, but definitely not as big as we thought it might be at the beginning of the season. But Liberty going on the road and taking on Appalachian State.
Well, this will tell me where odds makers are on them, because I watched the game with my own eyeballs the other night, and App State looked, it was unbelievable how bad they looked. I was wow.
That was following up a 66-20 beatdown from Clemson.
Yes. Like they look like a shell of an Appy State team. Now again, that wounded animal mode. So it's a kind of a tough spot there for Liberty, catching them in the spot they're getting them in. But if Liberty's not favored, then odds makers are, I'm going to say Liberty 3.5.
It's Liberty minus 3.
Okay, yeah, because Appy should not be favored in this game. So they may end up shocking Liberty, but okay. So your Flames are 3. All right.
Yep. Wisconsin at USC.
USC, I feel like they're pretty power rated, pretty good. USC 13?
USC 14.
Okay.
No Tyler Van Dyke.
Yeah.
That's trouble for Wisconsin.
I agree.
Here's a fun one for you. Mississippi State at Texas. See how close you get on this one.
This will be about as big, like, other than like your Georgia Vandy's type lines. This will be about as big. 5 touchdowns, 35, 5.5, 35.5.
Yeah, they got Mississippi State out here like UL Monroe. I mean, it's 38. So, yeah, Texas favored heavily in their first SEC game.
So many points in that game.
Yep. Interesting one here. Stanford at Clemson. Second consecutive road game for the Cardinal. Big win at Syracuse, and then Clemson obviously has found something. So, Stanford at Clemson.
Clemson by kickoff was like 18.5 against NC State. Probably somewhere around that. Somewhere between 18.5 to 12. I'll say 20. Clemson 20.
Clemson 22.5.
Okay.
Ohio State at Michigan State. Jonathan Smith gets them at home this year. Chance to make a statement. We'll see. Night game. We'll see.
Yeah. Good luck.
See how big of a big game coach he is.
Good luck. Buckeyes 17.5.
Buckeyes 24.
Whoa. Really?
Looks like you might be going to the window and betting Sparty right now.
Not, but that's one of the furthest I've been off. Them, and I think the Oklahoma State Jackrabbits game earlier this year.
Yeah. Yep.
7 points off. Wow.
Yep. Ranked matchup here. Whiteout in Happy Valley, Illinois at Penn State. They probably thought when they scheduled this as whiteout, it wasn't going to be a great matchup, but they got number 19 coming into town.
There's another stat out there I'm sure that we're going to find undefeated teams when they're ranked or whatever, because this is going to be a lot. Penn State at home, 17.
17.5.
Okay. All right. We redeemed ourselves there. If you had come back with 23, I was going to, okay.
Yeah. All right. A couple more here. Here's one you wanted. Arizona at Utah.
Yeah. No, that's a revenge game. For those that don't know, one of the worst beatings that Kyle Whittingham in Utah has ever taken was on the road in the desert last year against the Fish Bowl in Arizona. So I'm sure they've had this one circled. Hey, it's can't. I'm just kidding. Utah. 14.
Utah 12.5.
Okay.
Okay. Last one.
Go ahead.
You know where we're going. I'm sure you probably already looked at it. Just tell me already if you have looked at the line.
Of course, I've looked at it. Yeah, this is the only one.
Okay, so
That's the only one I've looked at.
So we're going to tell everybody it's Georgia at Alabama, and Georgia is currently 2.5-point favorites. I've seen a couple twos out there, but it's holding pretty steady right now, so not a lot of money coming in. And you know for a fact we will be back on Thursday, and we will be breaking down that game from absolutely every angle.
Yep.
Number 2 versus number 4 in T-Town. It's going to be Kalen DeBoer's first big test. Kirby Smart getting 2 weeks to prepare for it after that 13-12 win over Kentucky. It's got all the storylines, it's got all the players, it's got all the makings of a really good football game. But yeah, we'll be back on Thursday to break it all down. Again, we appreciate you guys following us on social media and following us on here. Again, we just love doing this, and we appreciate you guys. So until next time.